My first interest of all things was to be a funeral director. I had 3 grandmothers die at the same time in the 1950s, and I decided to be a funeral director. I also worked on the family farm. I was the 4th generation, and I screwed up my back while planting thousands of tomato plants over the years. And the doctor told me, find something else. You will not be able to lift. So just out of the blue, I picked journalism. So when I graduated from high school, I went to Point Park and graduated after 2 years with an associate's degree. And at that time, there was an opening at a radio station, a rock and roll radio station, the #1 in town. And another fellow student happened to have the job at the time. And he said, would you be interested? I said, heck yes, I'd be interested. So I had an interview, this was December of 1964 with the general manager. And he finally said, okay, we'll hire you at a princely sum of $1.75 an hour. And I worked from 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. on the phone, calling gas stations and tunnels and things like that, getting long traffic reports. And then I would be back at 4 o'clock and then do the same thing. And then that evolved into, they said, well, what do you do in the middle now that you've graduated? And I said, not much of anything. They said, well, if you want to stay on those other hours, we would like you to do interviews on the phone that will be taped. I said, sure, why not? So that's basically how I got into the business, and then getting onto the air had to do with the helicopter going up. The one that stands out, I've had 2 floods, major floods that stand out in my mind. One was the Johnstown flood of 1977, and then there was Hurricane Agnes that came through in a terrible rain. What year was that? 1960 something. Now I can't remember the exact year. But it was a terrible one, and I no sooner got through there. I was doing a benefit the night of the flood that it came through, and we were on a boat called the Pilot House Boat doing a beauty contest. And they kept saying, hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up. And as we got off this boat, like the gangplank when we got off, it was like this, and they were towing cars from the wharf at the time. So Hurricane Agnes, I bet you I worked that for 3-4 days almost straight. In fact, one night I slept in a jail cell that was open just to get my sleep. The other one was, Hurricane Agnes was one, and then the Johnstown flood was another that was just a doozy. And I was there for 3 days, and it got very scary. And I ended up in the middle of the flood. And one time I got caught in a drenching rain, and I have 2 state troopers in the back of the news car. We're trying to escape, and we're into water where I put my hand on the arm. And I was in water up to here. So I knew we were in trouble, and the thing made it through. But as I left, I found I had no brakes. Well, thank heavens, I was going up a large hill. And at the top of the hill was a red light. I knew I wasn't going to stop. And you want to say somebody was looking over me. I go in, and there's a motel. And I go against the metal and stop. And that's how I got it stopped and checked in there. At that period, we were doing traffic reports, flying in the sky. Snipers were shooting at me, one section of the city, and the city police had to call the station and say, get them out of there and don't come back in again. We had flak jackets issued to us in the helicopter, and we put them under our seat because the rationale of the bullet was coming this way. What's the use of this? And it was kind of scary. And the riots expanded, and you learned what the word riot meant, totally out of control. And I can still remember being in the station one night and watching a Jeep go by with the National Guard who had a 55, caliber machine gun like you saw on TV, and he's riding up 7th Avenue in the Golden Triangle. And it was like, this is bad. So it was a long ordeal. I got cornered a couple times. One time they were going to cut me apart, and thank heavens the police arrived just in time because I was stupid. News people just go where they want, and I got surrounded by a crowd, and they got me out of that one. So long days, long nights, little sleep, but I did it. I began January of 1965, and I left, I would say, spring of 1980, and went to another radio station. To be honest with you, I left because after 13 years of mobile news, morning, noon, at night, 24 hours a day, called out, I got tired of it. And the new job was morning drive, I'll take that, and commentary. So I left in 80.